Good afternoon, I'm Milton Walker with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Telecommunications company Flo has agreed not to seek an adjournment of its court action against the NAA and Czech to facilitate further negotiations. This follows a meeting with Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the relevant stakeholders. The meeting was attended by Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Fort, as well as the Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Douglas Saunders and Permanent Secretary at the Office of the Prime Minister Audrey Swell. Additionally, a schedule to ensure a notice period for excavation work prior to excavation activities will be sent to Flo by Czech. In the meantime, Prime Minister Holness mandated that regular meetings be held involving all parties to ensure the major infrastructure development projects continue in a seamless fashion. The Prime Minister's intervention follows Flo's application to the Supreme Court for an injunction to restrain the NAA and Czech from destroying, altering, or moving any of their vital equipment on all major roads now under modification. The move was in response to the damage of several cables during roadworks recently. And Flo says it welcomes the support of the Prime Minister. However, it will not be commenting further at this time. The driver of Acosta bus has been hospitalized in serious condition following a three-vehicle collision on the Mandela Highway this morning. The incident occurred shortly after 5 o'clock and involved the Acosta bus and a wrecker as well as a truck. All vehicles were traveling in a westerly direction towards Spanish Town, St. Catherine. Superintendent in charge of operations at the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, Courtney Kubre, says the crash was caused by a bad decision by the wrecker driver. The drivers of the truck and wrecker escaped injury. And one person died following a collision on the Spanish Town bypass in St. Catherine this morning. 2 other persons were injured. The incident occurred about 5:30. Police say it involved 2 trucks. An investigation is underway in St. Mary following the shooting death of a businessman at his establishment in Dover. The deceased has been identified as 54-year-old Manton Hamilton, who resided in the parish. TVG News understands that shortly after 9 o'clock Thursday night, Mr. Hamilton and his wife closed their business establishment and was closing the gate to the property when it's alleged a motor car with 2 men inside pulled up. One of the men had a mask and demanded that Mrs. Hamilton should hand over her handbag. When Mrs. Hamilton handed over her handbag to the men, they opened fire, hitting the couple. They were taken to the hospital where Mr. Hamilton was pronounced dead and his wife admitted. One resident who refused to speak on camera expressed disgust at the incident.
Why? It's sad. It's sad. Because he's not a man where nobody have any problem with. No. Nobody not having a problem with that man there. So, I don't know why, but so you go.
Another resident recounts his last conversation with the deceased.
From the shop up the top. And him stop in a shop up there and talk to me. Stop in a shop and talk to me because them call me dark sentence and I say dark sentence. So what you doing at people them place? And I say to him, say, man, go and go on your yard there, man. I come like, that's what I mean. I say, go on your yard. I'm not about my friend at all. I go see me in the hospital lie down dead last night. I tell you, man, I feel it, man. I tell you the truth. Feel grief about it. Bad.
The mayor of Maypen, Winston Mirage, is suggesting that the government invest in more solar lamps to reduce the high cost of electricity bills. Mr. Mirage made a suggestion at the recent installation of some solar lamps on the Bustamante Highway in Clarendon. The details in this report.
There is light at the end of the tunnel, and after more than 20 years of waiting, the junction where Fogar Road meets the Bustamante Highway in Clarendon is finally at the end of that tunnel. On Tuesday, 5 solar street lamps were installed at the junction. Mayor of Maypen, Winston Mirage, says those solar lamps were installed under the road safety program.
We had to go solar because of the fact that the JPS lines are far off from this junction.
So JPS
So no, it has nothing to do with JPS. Has nothing to do with JPS. JPS lines are way down the road from here.
Mayor Mirage says the lamps will reduce the high electricity bills that the government has to fork out billions of dollars to pay the Jamaica Public Service for street lights.
I think that this is the way that we need to go. These lamps are fully solar, and the lamps that we have here, which we have identified, have no panels. They just work on their own. They are fully equipped and they are miniature in size. So it's very easy to purchase and to install.
Like we see what go on, you see it? Because night time I want to tell about it around about us so dark, you see it? Right now one night them look on the sign over there, so you see it? That one is a good look.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Motorists and pedestrians can now breathe a sigh of relief as the Paradise Bridge, which TVJ News highlighted a week ago in Westmoreland, is under reconstruction. TVJ's Prince Moore has more in this report.
The recommended one is the Dunbars to Petersfield Galloway route. That route is much safer, the road is much wider, there are lights there at nights, and you can navigate it with some amount of ease.
Despite pleas from ahead of the Westmoreland Police, Superintendent Gary Mackenzie, to use the alternative routes, taxi operators who ply the Savannah Lamar to White Horses route in the parish say the new route is posing a problem to their livelihood. Although being rendered unsafe, taxi operators say the Paradise Bridge is the only safe route for them. They contend that the alternative routes will be more costly to passengers and it is also a threat to their lives.
Because it's so dangerous around that side, and not only it is dangerous, but it's a very lonely spot. No street light, especially when you touch night. And passengers are afraid to go around there because of the amount of people that have been killed around there. And when we get down to the other side, it takes another 20 minutes to get into Sav. So a 25 to 30 minutes drive is now taking us an hour, and production is being slowed down. People are now quarreling and some people want to collect extra from passengers and they can't pay it. We still take the chance to drive here because it is more easier for us to help the passengers, and these people don't care about us anymore.
In the meantime, another concern for taxi operators.
Everyone have to be sneaking around here, the police after us. Everyone been taking $5,000, $2,500 ticket, and that make no sense either.
You drive here?
Yes. And at night, we have to drive here at night because it's safer. So we have to drive here at night. It makes sense. And the taxi operator, they are not saying anything, they're just taking ticket and running away from police. And police been running you down, chasing you, and all kind of rubbish. Make no sense.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Residents in a section of Clarendon are up in arms over what they deem is the neglect of their community. They say for years, little attention has been paid to their needs. The details from TVJ's Shamela Pullin.
The struggle is real. We apologize. We had a problem with the audio from that report. Let's continue. With an estimated 2,500 Jamaicans living on the streets, the local government ministry says it's doing all it can to assist them. Speaking to TVJ News recently, local government minister Desmond Mackenzie says the ministry has to seek additional funding to accommodate these individuals through drop-in centres across the island. These drop-in centres are used to feed, treat and counsel the homeless.
You will never get them off the streets. But there are some who would want somewhere to go to get a bath, change of clothes, get something to eat, get medical attention. And that is the purpose of the drop-in facilities that we are constructing across the country, to sort of be a buffer between those persons who are living on the street.
The St. Ann Health Department is reporting success in administering the vaccine for the human papillomavirus, HPV. The vaccine helps to protect women against cervical cancer, which is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the world and in Jamaica. Speaking at the last sitting of the St. Ann Municipal Corporation meeting, Medical Officer of Health for the parish, Dr. Deborah Ware, says a team from the health department visited 12 schools where the response to administering of the vaccine was good.
The schools, high school and or special needs schools so far, we have covered some 44% of the girls. The vaccine is administered with permission of the parents. So we are continuing with this activity throughout the parish.
Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw is this afternoon praising farmers in the parish of Manchester for their efforts in the exportation of yam. Speaking to TVJ News earlier this week, Mr. Shaw noted that due to the initiative of one entrepreneur, a number of farmers are benefiting from the sale of the produce to overseas markets. Of note for the Agriculture Minister was the sale price of the produce, which is coming from $20 a pound.
Now our range is moving from $100 to $150 to $200. So, and this will be stable because the markets are stable. And what the exporter is doing, in fact, is sharing some of the profit because the prices they sell it for in the export market is a stable U.S. price.
In the United States, federal judge Timothy J. Kelly today ordered the White House to reinstate Chief White House correspondent Jim Acosta's press pass. The details from the CNN.
It doesn't necessarily mean Jim Acosta and CNN's ordeal is over, but there should be no ambiguity. CNN and Jim Acosta won in court today. But what the judge said was, if you are going to take away a hard pass, there has to be some sort of explanation, some sort of process, some sort of standards for doing that if you're going to threaten First Amendment rights in this way.
Right.
So basically what the judge has done has thrown this issue back to the White House and said, okay, there may be a justification for you to take away Jim Acosta's press pass, but you have to create and establish and follow some rules to do that, and let him understand what he's accused of violating and let him defend himself.
Still overseas, the death toll in the historic and massive wildfires burning in California is rising, and the number of people missing in the north of the state has dramatically increased. The details from the CNN.
This is a dynamic list, right? Some days there might be more people, some days there might be less people.
Hope is fading for families with people reported missing in the chaos of the Camp Fire. Officials in Northern California have now added hundreds of names to the list, from 130 on Wednesday to more than 600.
Ultimately, when we're through this process, my sincere hope is that we have accounted for everybody.
So far, 63 people have died, and that number is expected to rise. Rescuers, troops, and cadaver dogs are still looking for remains in piles of ash and smoldering rubble. Meanwhile, thousands of survivors are now homeless, with some living in shelters and tent cities.
What do you miss most?
Just being in a bed. The Camp Fire has destroyed nearly 10,000 homes, making it the most destructive wildfire in the state's history, and it's still raging out of control. In Southern California, at least 2 more people have died in a separate fire. The Woolsey Fire has charred more than 98,000 acres and destroyed more than 500 structures, all while the entire state hopes for some relief and a sense of normalcy.
My 3-year-old son keeps asking, why can't we just go home? And I don't know what to tell him.
In sports, a semi-final spot will be up for grabs for the West Indies women when they take on Sri Lanka in their penultimate Group A match at the ICC Women's World T20 Tournament today at the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia. The West Indies are top of Group A with 4 points, while Sri Lanka are third with 2 points. In the head-to-head meetings between both teams in the history of the World T20, the West Indies women have won won and lost one to Sri Lanka. This match bowls off at 7 p.m. Jamaica time. The West Indies have advanced to the semi-finals of every edition of this competition since 2010. In the curtain raiser, England will take on South Africa at the same venue starting at 4 o'clock. That's the Midday News. I'm Milton Walker. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.